Hi everyone, I'm Diane Tran and I work at Grassroots Solutions as a project manager. My background in organizing, I like to say that I started out in my cul-de-sac where I grew up, just organizing baseball games and proms and little fake radio shows and that kind of thing, because I enjoyed hanging out with my neighbors and trying to find things that we enjoyed and shared in common. So that, I think, was the start of just starting to realize that one of my passions was engaging people and bringing them together to work on things that we cared about in common. My background in community organizing, I think, has largely been in the public health field. I think public health is one of the most basic of human rights, or health is a human right. And so my background has largely been in tobacco control and prevention, one of the larger concerns that we have in public health. And then that has grown a little bit into the international realm, so working on issues like maternal health and child survival and the global AIDS epidemic, but staying also very focused on tobacco control. I am a sports fan, not necessarily the typical sort of sports that people watch on TV, I suppose, but I am a fan of the Minnesota Twins and the Vikings, a fair weather fan at the very least. I guess I would say softball, broomball, and gymnastics. Not that those aren't on TV during the Olympics and that type of thing, but they're not the typical sort of hockey, football, baseball. Well, aside from the more obvious things like the elections that will be coming up, two of the issues that I'm working on right now actually are fairly interesting to me, one of them being global warming. And so one of our clients is working on climate action, and obviously it's a really critical issue that will continue to grow in, I guess, strength and how scary it is if we don't address it. And I think it'll be one of the issues that the rising generation will sort of be looked at in terms of how it addressed it as it's part of its legacy and what it left behind for its children and future generations. So I think that one certainly is something to keep an eye on. And then another issue that I'm working on is about improving human health through preserving antibiotics, and that is through changing industrial farming practices. So factory farms use a lot of non-therapeutic antibiotics in animal feed and in their water supply to be able to make sure that they can grow strong and won't necessarily get sick in the process of trying to grow really big animals that are good for selling and that kind of thing. But that endangers the human antibiotic supply. And so looking at that issue and its interactions between health and food and social justice is really fascinating and is also growing in importance. Recently did like this delegation trip to Nigeria a couple months back, and they say in international development that things don't always go as planned, and this trip really didn't go as planned, right? So there were 6 of us in the U.S. and 6 from Nigeria, and we were supposed to switch places. We were supposed to spend a month in Nigeria, the first week in the state capital and meeting with different leaders and business people and that sort of thing, and then the next 3 weeks in a smaller town, probably a St. Cloud or Duluth, at their college at the guest house studying intensively business and entrepreneurship. And so we arrived, and apparently the universities had already been on strike for about 3 months or so nationally, students and teachers. And so out of a 6-week trip, the first week went as planned, and maybe the last week, and in between all of that, every day was making up new things and agendas and itineraries, and we got a significantly different trip than we expected. One of my favorite quotes is by Annie Dillard, and it is that how we spend our days is, of course, how we spend our lives. And I think it helps me remember that every moment matters.